And welcome back. Today from United, we have Juanita Skillman, who is the board president. Thank you for coming on today. Great to see you.
Always good to see you. A little different time. Our treasurer, who usually has this time, and I traded. I'm usually right after the board meeting, but he is in Puerto Vallarta.
Oh,
I
how
wish
nice.
on vacation. I envy him. So
Yeah.
anyway, we're just switched around a little bit. So my report will be just a little bit different today.
Okay.
I'd like to start off with great news for everybody. Gate 2 is open. I know there's been a lot of problems because the rain has delayed it just a little bit, but the gate arms are in and it is open, and now, not next week, but I think the week after, we will move over to gate 3. But gate 2, and for those of you in 3rd, gate 8 are now open, and that's really good news for a lot of our residents. Now, back in March, just a real quick recap of some of the things that happened. We had our usual consent calendar and a few things that were put on for this month, which I'll talk about. But in unfinished business, as I've said many times, we have 2 readings. Unfinished business is the first time it comes before the board, and we read the resolution, we talk about it a little bit, and then it goes out for 28-day notification to comply with civil code for anybody, any of the residents, anybody who has an opinion on it, to let us know. And so this time we sent out the alteration standard plan policy, and the big thing that had a lot of debate was amending what is now called the caregiver policy. And we made changes to it. Compliance did, security did, social services was involved, and it's now called the private caregiver policy. And so it changed it around a little bit. And, and we had a lot of debate on that. And it goes forward. It complied, so it was the second vote on that and went forward.
Okay.
And then new business, these were things that we brought forward for the first time for first reading, and they will be going to our April business meeting, which comes up on April 9th. And we encourage everybody to either come to the meeting or to watch it on TV. And on any of these items, if you have opinions, if you want to share them, please let the board members know. You can send written comments to the community center here, and our wonderful executive assistant copies them and gives them to all of the board members.
Okay.
You can do it by email, calls, whatever. We have a number of items on the consent calendar again. One for a stair lift on a Cadiz. Now, ever since I moved here, I've always wondered, how can people live in upstairs Cadiz? Because there's a long, narrow stairway. I forget how many steps, but many, 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 many steps that go up. And someone who had lived there for a number of years and had a health institute, and they're putting at their expense, not United's expense, one of those seated stair lifts that goes up the side of the stairway.
Okay.
And I'm anxious to see how that turns out. I'm sorry to say we're going to vote on putting liens on 2 members who are delinquent in their assessments. And then we have our review under the new Civil Code 5501 of the review that we have on our finances. And we have a subcommittee in United, our treasurer, Gary Morrison, and one of the members of our finance committee, Elsie Addington, who go through and review those numbers and tell us that everything was fine for the last month. Now, under unfinished business, which is something that we will have our first reading on, other way around, our second reading on, and that is a resolution to allow guarantors. And this again is a very, not really controversial, but an issue that a lot of people have opinions about. We used to have an ability to have guarantors for people buying a share coming into the village. and it was taken off because it was misused. And so we have, at the request of some of the members, brought it back, going to discuss it even more, and basically we've put some controls on it, like you can only guarantee one project instead of multiple projects, the same person, and that just spread the funds too thin, and we had some problems with those not working. And there are some other things that we have added to that. So it will have its vote, because we did bring it back out in March, and so it will have its final vote at our April meeting, as will the revised payment plan agreement and resolution payment plan for assessments. We did one for monetary fees, but there were some changes, quite frankly, one big typo in the one for assessments, and so we sent it back to committee and had it cleaned up, and now it will come for final vote at our April meeting. We also will discuss again the proposed resolution to the GRF bylaws 2.1.4. And for those of you out there who have been listening for years and years and know that this has gone round and round and round and round, it's the one that specifies that in order to be over any project over $500,000 or a certain amount of actual land use, etc., has to come to the corporate members for a vote. Cannot be voted on just by GRF. There's been a lot of wording changes. We thought we were all done. All of the associations had agreed on it, and then GRF got a new attorney, and he looked at it and decided there were a couple little changes he wanted to make in there, so we're re-voting, looking at it again.
Okay.
Each of the mutuals and GRF have to vote on it within their own associations, and then it goes forward to a corporate members meeting.
Okay.
And we hope to get that done soon. We have a couple of new business things that are coming up that I hope everybody will be interested in. One of them is to revise the fees for golf cart charging violations. We have a charge to charge your golf cart in there. It's $240 a year, I believe. And we have a lot of people who've just decided they're not going to pay and they're going to charge anyway. And that's using common area electricity.
Okay.
And so we are putting a fine on that when it's caught, and our security, our neighbors whose money really it is that they're using, etc., are letting us know. So we will be putting that, reading that for the first time, and it will go on 28 days. Then the amended financial qualification policy, again adding, if we vote under unfinished business to allow the guarantors, then we have to put that back into our financial qualifications policy.
Okay.
And so we have the wording, and that then would be put on that. We have been working really hard. We have subcommittee task forces of all of the presidents of the various associations, and that includes United and Third and GRF and VMS and the Towers. And the presidents have gotten together and have worked up a policy on roles and responsibility, trying to clarify exactly who does what and why, and what the role of the different people are. And this is particularly important with VMS, because a lot of people say, well, what the heck does VMS do, and why do we need them? And so hopefully this will clarify some of that. And then also, we use member advisors, and we ask anybody who's interested in specific topics, landscape, architecture, whatever, to volunteer to be a member advisor.
Right.
But we didn't have any rules on qualifications and what they had to do, and then the fact that they needed to sign confidentiality agreements and that kind of thing. So we've now documented that, and we'll be looking at those documents to go forward. So the big items are going to be the guarantors, and with that the financial qualifications. And we're always happy to listen to any members. One of our ex-board members, longtime resident, Maxine McIntosh, suggested last time that we have a survey that goes out to all of the members in United on certain items. So we've been looking at that, what should be on that survey and how and when we can get it through. So we'll probably also be discussing that. And that's it.
All right. And I know that if you do surveys, you got to look at the cost too.
Oh,
right?
absolutely, absolutely. We've been trying to get one ready that would go out with our April mailing, but I'm not sure it's going to be done by then. So it probably won't, if we have to send it out on its own. We're also looking at what we can do electronically, because we have so many possibilities now electronically that we can have people call in if we have a very simple survey and it's yes, no answers, those kinds of things.
Right, yeah, or if you do an online one, I mean, really, that's how most surveys are done.
Now, we know that we have about 20% of our residents who are not online, who don't have internet and can't participate that way. So we have to see how we can include them as well if they want to answer. It's not a simple thing, like let's just ask a question and see what everybody thinks. Formatting is very, very complicated, and that's what we're working on right now, is how can we get it out to the most people in the easiest and certainly most economical way.
Right. All right, I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. Okay.
And next month, you'll be on the regular
Next month, I'll be right after our meeting.
All
I'll
right,
tell you what we did
good.
with all these good things.
All right, we'll be right back. Thank you.